Burkina Faso, once a name whispered in the shadows of instability and dependence. But today, under the leadership of Ibrahim Traoré, that same land speaks loudly with construction, renewal, and vision. In less than 2 years, the transformation is undeniable. Roads now stitch together once isolated communities. Crops grow again where only despair took root. Security is no longer a dream, but a reclaimed right. And a new kind of energy, both electrical and human fuels, a national awakening. This is not just a change in policy, it's a change in soul. From dusty margins to the front lines of African innovation, Burkina Faso is building, planting, defending, and dreaming. And at the heart of it all stands a man many call a soldier, but more are beginning to call a builder of futures. What did Traoré actually do, and how did it happen so fast? OTA. Subscribe to the channel, share this story, and stay with us, because this is only the beginning. Burkina Faso is not waiting for permission to rise. It's laying the road to its own rebirth, meter by meter, beam by beam. Under the leadership of President Ibrahim Traoré, infrastructure has become more than concrete height, is consciousness. A new social contract, written not on paper, but in the soil, steel, and sweat of a people who refuse to be forgotten. In the Eastern Corridor, the once eroded highway from Fada Ngoma to Kuduu now gleams with a 7-meter-wide dual asphalt layer, reinforced by local basalt rock. It cuts across the Sahel like a lightning bolt uninterrupted by seasonal floods, no longer swallowed by time. Villagers who once waited 3 hours for an ambulance now reach hospitals in 30 minutes. Goods that spoiled en route now arrive fresh, fueling markets and reviving trade. In Ouagadougou, the new ring road is not just infrastructure, it's security. For years, bandits ruled the bush paths. Today, solar-powered streetlights illuminate 17 kilometers of newly laid road, making the area safer for transporters and families alike. 1,500 LED units, installed and maintained by local youth cooperatives, now light the path of a country finding its own way forward. But what makes this revolution unique is not only what is built, but who builds it. The bridges, toll stations, and truck depots rising across the nation are not the work of foreign firms but of Burkinabé engineers, many under 35, trained through emergency civil works programs. The Ouagadougou Expressway, with over 122 kilometers completed, employs more than 4,000 local workers daily. Each bridge foundation carries not just trucks, but trust. Consider the rebirth of the Abidjan-Ouagadougou Railway, once a colonial relic, rusting in silent snow, revitalized with a vision. 137 kilometers of rail restored, 2 new locomotives, 4 cargo hubs reactivated. The goal? Shift 20% of cargo from roads to rails by 2027, cutting emissions, reducing costs, and linking agricultural towns back into the national grid. And in a time of displacement, Traoré's team goes further, developing satellite cities along the railway to house internally displaced persons with dignity, not charity. One shining example is Pabré, north of the capital. There, rows of social housing blend with green public spaces, built with compressed earth bricks by local cooperatives. Schools, clinics, and public kitchens are not add-ons, they are essentials. 3,260 housing units, each under $11,500, financed entirely by state-owned mining dividends, not IMF debt. The message is clear. Infrastructure is no longer a trap, it is liberation. In lumber, solar charging stations for electric motorcycles are being piloted, turning rural stops into energy hubs. Microgrids built alongside the roads now power schools and water pumps. This is not just technical progress, it is moral progress. Because when a child can walk to school on a paved road, when a mother can give birth near a lit highway, when a farmer can reach a market before nightfall, that is not development. That is dignity. So we ask, if roads can carry cars, can they also carry hope? And if a railway can move goods, can it also move history? They once called farming in Burkina Faso a burden of the poor. Today, it is becoming the pride of a generation. Across the plains of Yatenga, through the valleys near Banfora, and across the savannas of Ouagadougou, something extraordinary is unfolding. Young men and women are returning to the land not in desperation, but in dignity. Ibrahim Traoré is rewriting the story of agriculture, not as a fallback for the forgotten, but as the foundation of sovereignty. The numbers speak louder than speeches. In just 18 months, over 6,300 tractors, 4,700 seeders, and 2,100 solar-powered harvesters have been distributed, not rented, not least given to local cooperatives and family farmers. For the first time, small-scale growers are harvesting 12 tons of millet per hectare, up from 4 tons in previous seasons. That's not just yield, that's revolution. And this shift is not mechanical alone, it's cultural. In Ouagadougou, the National Agricultural Innovation Farm trains over 1,000 rural youth per quarter, offering practical certification in drip irrigation, seed genetics, and agroecological soil care. Students no longer dream of escaping the countryside, they dream of mastering it. Agriculture is our defense, says one young trainee, and our dignity. At the heart of the model is solar-powered autonomy. Thousands of farmers now irrigate their fields using kits that combine low-pressure drip pipes with rooftop solar panels, subsidized by the government. A farmer in Seba can now water 2 hectares of onions daily, with zero fuel cost and no grid dependency. The state provides seed and fertilizer subsidies directed to Livia SMS. Over 800,000 farmers enrolled in the National Support Program received smart vouchers, traceable and secure, helping eliminate corruption and middlemen. Meanwhile, mini processing plants have been built in 23 provinces, cutting post-harvest losses by over 40%. Women's cooperatives now dry, pack, and ship local produce, turning cassava and tomatoes into income, not waste. But perhaps most radical is the philosophy beneath it all. Traoré's vision is not charity, it's economic liberation. Agriculture, in this new Burkina, is not a matter of food only, it is a matter of power. The country is moving toward what it calls nourrir sans dépendre, to nourish without dependency. This means saying goodbye to the image of the poor peasant and embracing the rural entrepreneur. From sorghum processors in Tenkadogo to shea butter exporters in Kaya, new rural businesses are forming every week. Backed by state-guaranteed microloans, agriculture is no longer survival, it is strategy. Because what if the road to independence isn't paved with declarations but with harvests? What if the next revolution doesn't wear camouflage but holds a hoe, powered by the sun? And now, as the soil awakens, the nation turns to its next frontier: security and sovereignty through a rebuilt armed force. But before that, what does it truly mean to defend a land that now feeds itself? Stay with us, we're just getting started. They once said Burkina Faso could never defend itself, that its borders were too fragile, its state too fractured, and its army too dependent. But that was before Ibrahim Traoré. Today, the country is crafting its own defense block by block, soul by soul. In a land once torn by insurgency, the sound of rifles has been replaced not by silence, but by structure. The philosophy now is clear: total sovereign control. No more waiting for international battalions, no more dependency on borrowed soldiers. Under Traoré's leadership, Burkina Faso has reclaimed the very meaning of national defense. It begins with the VDP's volunteers for the defense of the homeland. Nearly 60,000 civilians, farmers, teachers, artisan shave, completed basic tactical training in less than a year. These are not mercenaries. These are men and women who choose to stand, not run. Trained in decentralized zones, fed by local communities, the VDPs now form a living wall across vulnerable provinces like Soum, Yaga, and San Matenga. And behind them, a reborn army. Traoré's vision doesn't stop at deploying troops, it's about building capacity. In Ouagadougou, a fully Burkinabé-owned facility now assembles light armored vehicles, designed by domestic engineers with tactical input from soldiers on the ground. Over 120 vehicles have already been deployed in patrols, proof that Burkina Faso can not only fight, but innovate militarily. But what is defense without intelligence? That's where the new civil-military intelligence integration system comes in. Every community in conflict-prone zones now has liaison officers, both military and civilian, trained in surveillance, information gathering, and threat mapping. Data isn't just flowing from satellites, it's flowing from the voices of market vendors, shepherds, and mothers. Security has become participatory. Where villages once vanished under terrorist threat, now they rise again with more than rifles. In retaken areas such as Arbinda and Djibo, the reconstruction is rapid and real. 18 schools reopened, 12 health centers restored, 23 rural markets rebuilt. Security, for Traoré, is not just an army, it's a normal life returned. And still, the cost is real. Every week, names of fallen heroes are etched into stone at the National Hall of Honor in Ouagadougou, but their sacrifice is not invisible. A national fund, backed by both public and private contributions, now ensures that families of fallen soldiers receive lifetime housing support, school grants for children, and trauma care. Here, no one dies forgotten. Traoré once said, "Every soldier who falls is a step toward the dignity of our nation," and the people are beginning to believe it. For decades, security was seen as the exclusive domain of foreign aid or colonial leftovers. Now, it's a collective process rooted in pride, built on trust. From makeshift militias to structured national units, from fear of the unknown to maps drawn by the people, from burned villages to rebuilt classrooms. This isn't just a defense policy, it's a civilizational reawakening. But as the nation fortifies its land and soul, a new frontier begins to glow on the horizon. What if the sun itself could fuel the future of Burkina Faso? What happens when a nation moves from securing its territory to illuminating it? Stay tuned, we're about to enter the energy revolution. Under Ibrahim Traoré's vision, energy is no longer a privilege, it's a promise. In the heart of Burkina Faso's dry plains, solar panels now glisten like shields of hope. Over 2,000 rural clinics and schools have been electrified, allowing babies to be born under steady light and children to study beyond sundown. But the real revolution lies in silence, the hum of a future nuclear reactor, small but powerful, safe yet bold. In 2025, Traoré stunned the world by signing an agreement with the IAEA to develop civilian nuclear energy, a first in the Sahel. Young Burkinabé engineers now train in Russia, Morocco, and China, learning to harness the atom not for war, but for water pumps, cement plants, and national pride. The nation prepares not just to power itself, but to electrify the dream of a sovereign Africa. And as the first kilowatts from Burkinabé soil light up their own machines, who else will dare to follow this atomic path of dignity? In the past, Burkina Faso stood under the scorching Sahel Sunyet, lived in darkness. But today, under Traoré's quiet but firm revolution, that contradiction is ending. Across the countryside, villagers now assemble their own solar panels, built in the country's first, locally operated photovoltaic plant. Hybrid mini-stations combine sun and battery to power Mayabo over 350 rural zones, bringing electricity to schools, cold chains for vaccines, and irrigation pumps for farmers. In one village alone, night classes for 84 students have become routine, something unthinkable just 2 years ago. This is not charity. This is energy sovereignty, a bold decision to produce, distribute, and master power independently. And with each light bulb lit by local hands, a generation learns that dignity begins where dependence ends. When a nation no longer waits for light from outside but chooses to build its own dawn, what else might it reclaim next? And now, standing at the threshold of history, we ask, what does it truly mean for a nation to rise? Under the leadership of Ibrahim Traoré, Burkina Faso has not merely launched projects. It has declared something far deeper, the legal and moral right to shape its own destiny. From energy independence to youth innovation, from rural electrification to sovereign decisions on nuclear power, every step forward rewrites the legal contract between state and citizen, between Africa and the world. But this is not just a story of one man or one country. It is a mirror held up to all of us. In a continent so often spoken for, Burkina speaks for itself. In a time when many wait for help, it chooses to build with its hands, its heart, and its people. So today, we ask you not only to like this video, but to comment, what is your vision of tomorrow's Burkina *? Share this story, save this chapter, and above all, subscribe, as this journey is just beginning. What if dignity wasn't given but built, broadcast, and believed in, together?